You made the rice last night. You refrigerated it. You did the thing every health video told you to do. Cool it down. Let the resistant starch form. 24 hours in the fridge. You did everything right. Then you put it in the microwave, and in 90 seconds, you erased the benefit. Not partially, not a little. For some foods, the microwave reverses the exact chemical process that was protecting you from a blood sugar spike. The starch crystals that formed overnight, the ones your digestive enzymes couldn't break down, they melt, they unfold, and they go right back to behaving like regular, rapidly digestible starch.
But here's what nobody's telling you. It doesn't happen to every food the same way. Some foods, the microwave actually helps. Some foods, it destroys the protection completely. And one food, the third one I'm going to show you, the microwave changes it in a way that has nothing to do with starch at all. It attacks a completely different compound, one that was the entire reason you were eating it in the first place. I've gone through the clinical research, peer-reviewed studies, not blog posts, and I've identified the 3 foods that change their blood sugar impact the most when you microwave them after 60. And I've ranked them from bad to devastating. Drop a comment saying, "I deserve the truth," if you believe healthcare information should be free and accessible to everyone. Because the microwave industry has no incentive to fund research on how their product changes the metabolic impact of your food. And your doctor? They spent about 4 hours on nutrition in medical school. 4 hours. So this information falls through the cracks. Every single day. This is Senior Health Blog, and the truth starts now. Before I name the 3 foods, you need to understand something fundamental. Because once you understand how a microwave works, everything I'm about to tell you will make perfect sense. A microwave oven doesn't heat food the way your stove does. Your stove transfers heat from the outside in. Slow. Gradual. The surface gets hot first, then the heat works its way toward the center. A microwave does something completely different. It generates electromagnetic waves at a frequency of 2.45 gigahertz. These waves cause water molecules inside your food to vibrate, roughly 2.5 billion times per second. That vibration creates friction, and that friction creates heat. But here's the critical part. The heat is generated inside the food, simultaneously, everywhere the water molecules exist. It's not surface-first heating. It's volumetric heating. The whole thing heats up at once. Why does this matter for blood sugar? Because starch, the molecule that turns into glucose in your body, is incredibly sensitive to how it's heated. The speed of heating, the temperature distribution, the moisture level during heating. All of these determine whether a starch crystal stays intact or collapses. And microwaves heat fast, very fast, with uneven moisture distribution, which creates what food scientists call superheated microsites, tiny pockets inside your food that get much hotter than the average temperature. These pockets can reach temperatures that fully reverse the crystallization process that was protecting your blood sugar. Now, different starches respond to this differently. Different foods have different amylose to amylopectin ratios, different fiber structures, different compounds. So, the microwave isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's neutral. Sometimes it's even beneficial. But for these 3 foods, it's a problem. And you need to know which ones. Let's start with number 3. Number 3, potatoes. And look, I know what you're thinking. I already know about potatoes and blood sugar. But stay with me, because what I'm about to show you is specifically about what happens when you microwave a potato that you already cooled. And almost nobody is talking about this correctly. Here's what you probably already know. If you cook a potato, then cool it in the refrigerator for at least 12 hours, the starch undergoes a process called retrogradation. The amylose chains, which are the linear starch molecules, realign into tightly packed crystalline structures. These crystals resist digestion. Your enzymes can't break them down efficiently. So instead of flooding your bloodstream with glucose in 20 minutes, that resistant starch travels to your large intestine, where bacteria ferment it into short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. That's the good news. And it works.
Clinical studies have shown that chilled potatoes reduce glucose spikes by 25 to 40% compared to freshly cooked potatoes. A study published in Nutrients confirmed that chilled potatoes significantly lowered both insulin and glucose-dependent insulinotropic peptide responses. So you did the right thing. You cooked it, cooled it, waited 12 to 24 hours, built up that resistant starch. Now, you want to eat it warm. Because cold potatoes aren't exactly delicious, so you microwave it. And here's where it goes wrong. A study from the SPUD project, that's a BBSRC-funded research initiative specifically investigating how domestic food processing affects glycemic response, found something that most health influencers completely ignore. When it comes to potatoes specifically, reheating reduces the resistant starch content almost back to the level of freshly cooked potatoes.
Stop. Read that again in your mind. Almost back to freshly cooked levels. The researchers explained why. Potatoes have a low amylose to amylopectin ratio, roughly 20 to 32% amylose versus 68 to 80% amylopectin. And here's the problem. Retrograded amylopectin, which makes up the majority of potato starch, is heat unstable. Its crystallinity can be fully reversed at temperatures as low as 55 degrees Celsius. That's only 131 degrees Fahrenheit. Your microwave blows past that in seconds. So the amylopectin crystals melt. The resistant starch dissolves back into rapidly digestible starch. And your body processes that reheated potato almost exactly like it would process a freshly cooked one. Now, everything I've just explained covers what happens during the day. But there's a whole other side to blood sugar management. What happens while you sleep? That's actually something I wrote a full guide about. It's called the Midnight Insulin Trap. I'll leave the link in the description. But right now, let's keep going, because food number 2 is going to shock you. The fix. If you want warm potatoes with the resistant starch benefit, use the stovetop or a conventional oven at low heat, around 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat them slowly, gently. The slower, lower temperature reheating preserves more of the resistant starch crystals because you're not creating those superheated microsites that the microwave generates. Or better yet, eat them cold. Potato salad with olive oil, a little vinegar, some herbs. The resistant starch stays intact, your blood sugar stays steady, and honestly, it tastes better than you'd think. And here's a practical tip. If you absolutely must use the microwave, use the lowest power setting. 50% power. Heat for longer rather than shorter. The goal is to warm the potato without hitting those temperatures that reverse the crystallization. It won't be as good as stovetop reheating, but it's better than blasting it on high for 3 minutes. And I want to be clear about something. This doesn't mean you should never eat potatoes. What it means is, if you went through the effort of cooling them overnight to build resistant starch, don't undo that effort in 90 seconds with a microwave. Respect the process. Your blood sugar will thank you. Number 2, bread. Now this one frustrates me. Because a lot of people in our community, and I read your comments, I see what you're doing. A lot of you have switched to sprouted grain bread, Ezekiel bread, sourdough. You're making smart choices. The glycemic index of sourdough is 48 to 54. Ezekiel bread is around 36. Compared to white bread at 75. You're doing this right. And some of you've even started doing the cool and reheat trick with bread. Toast it, cool it overnight, then warm it up the next day. Because the same retrogradation process that works for potatoes works for bread starch. The amylose chains recrystallize. Resistant starch forms. The glycemic impact drops. Then you put it in the microwave. And here's where bread becomes worse than potatoes. Because bread has something potatoes don't. Gluten. When you microwave bread, 2 things happen simultaneously. First, the starch re-gelatinizes. Same problem as potatoes. The resistant starch crystals melt and revert to rapidly digestible starch. But with bread, there's a second problem. The gluten network, the protein matrix that gives bread its structure, traps moisture unevenly during microwave heating. This creates pockets of extremely high-temperature steam inside the bread.
Those steam pockets don't just melt the resistant starch, they cause the starch granules to swell and burst open, exposing even more surface area to your digestive enzymes. Research on the effects of cooking, cold storage, and microwave reheating on pasta and bread starch digestibility, published in Food and Function, found that while cold storage reduced starch digestibility, microwave reheating regained some of that digestibility. The cooling benefit was partially erased. But here's the part that really concerns me, and this is something I haven't seen anyone else talk about. When you microwave bread, especially whole grain bread, you're not just affecting the starch, you're affecting the fiber matrix. The bran layer in whole wheat bread contains insoluble fiber that physically encapsulates starch granules. It acts like a shield. Your enzymes have to work through that fiber layer before they can access the starch inside. Microwave heating, because it heats from the inside out through moisture, can disrupt that fiber-starch interface. The fiber doesn't disappear, but the physical barrier weakens. And once that barrier weakens, your enzymes access the starch faster. Blood sugar rises faster. And I know a lot of you watching this are on metformin. Some of you have been on it for 15, even 20 years. I'm not going to tell you to stop taking it. That's between you and your doctor. But what I am going to show you is how a simple change in how you reheat your food can make your medication work better. Not by changing the drug, but by reducing the glucose load it has to fight. The fix? Toast your bread. That's it. Use a toaster or a toaster oven. The dry, surface-level heat of toasting actually creates a Maillard reaction on the outside, a chemical browning process that forms a crust. That crust acts as a physical barrier that slows enzyme access. And the interior starch undergoes less regelatinization because the heat exposure is brief and surface-focused. If you cooled your bread overnight, toast it the next morning instead of microwaving it. You keep more of the resistant starch. You maintain the fiber barrier, and you actually add a new protective layer, that toasted crust. The difference? A microwaved slice of day-old whole wheat bread might spike your blood sugar almost as much as a fresh slice. A toasted slice of day-old whole wheat bread? The glycemic impact stays closer to the cooled version. Not identical, but meaningfully lower. And one more thing on bread. Sourdough is your best friend here. The fermentation process that gives sourdough its tang also produces organic acids, lactic acid and acetic acid, that slow glucose absorption independently of the starch structure. So even if you lose some resistant starch during toasting, the organic acids are still working for you. Sourdough, cooled overnight, toasted in the morning. That's the gold standard for bread after 60. And if you're living with type 1, I see you. Most of what I'm covering today applies to type 2 and prediabetes specifically. But the principle of how starch regelatinizes? That affects glucose absorption regardless of type. Managing that post-meal spike matters for everyone. Now, before I reveal food number 1, and I promise you, this one is going to change your morning routine, I need to stop. Because there are 3 mistakes people make when they hear this information. And if you make any of them, you'll actually make your blood sugar worse, not better. Mistake number 1. Do not eat all your starchy foods cold and assume that fixes everything. Cooling creates resistant starch. That's real. That's proven. But resistant starch is only one piece of the puzzle. A cold potato is still a potato. It still contains rapidly digestible starch, just less of it. If you eat a large cold potato by itself, you'll still get a significant glucose response. Cooling reduces the spike by 25 to 40%. It doesn't eliminate it. The rule: always pair cooled starches with protein and fat. A cold potato with chicken and olive oil. Day-old rice with salmon and avocado. Never eat any starchy food, cooled or not, alone. The protein and fat slow gastric emptying even further. Mistake number 2. Do not cool food at room temperature for hours before refrigerating. I see this in the comments. People cook rice, leave it on the counter for 6 hours, then put it in the fridge. This is a food safety issue. Bacillus cereus, a bacteria that produces toxins, thrives in cooked rice left at room temperature. Those toxins aren't destroyed by reheating. Cool your food within 1 hour of cooking. Spread it in a thin layer on a baking sheet. Get it into the fridge fast. Then let retrogradation happen over 12 to 24 hours at refrigerator temperature. Mistake number 3. Do not assume all reheating methods are equal. This is the whole point of this video. Stovetop with low heat. Conventional oven at 300 degrees. These preserve more resistant starch than a microwave on full power. But even within microwave use, 50% power for longer is dramatically better than full power for less time. The speed and intensity of heating matters more than most people realize. And here's one more thing. Never reheat the same food multiple times. Each heat-cool cycle degrades the resistant starch further. Cook once, cool once, reheat once. That's it. Food number 1. Oatmeal. And honestly, this is the one that kept me up at night. Because oatmeal is the single most recommended breakfast food for people managing blood sugar. Your doctor recommends it. The American Diabetes Association has endorsed it. It's in every Foods for Diabetics list ever published. And there's good reason. Oats contain a soluble fiber called beta-glucan. And beta-glucan is extraordinary. It forms a viscous gel in your digestive tract that slows glucose absorption, delays gastric emptying, and reduces post-meal blood sugar spikes. The European Food Safety Authority has specifically approved a health claim. At least 4 grams of oat beta-glucan per 30 grams of available carbohydrates produces a significant reduction in glycemic response. A meta-analysis of over 100 trial comparisons, published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2021, confirmed that oat beta-glucan reduces post-meal glucose and insulin responses. The evidence is massive. It's consistent. It's real. So what's the problem? The problem is that beta-glucan's effectiveness depends almost entirely on 2 things: its molecular weight and its viscosity. High molecular weight beta-glucan creates thick, viscous solutions in your gut. That viscosity is what slows glucose absorption. Low molecular weight beta-glucan doesn't. And here's the bomb. Processing, including microwave heating, can break the glycosidic bonds that hold beta-glucan chains together. This process is called depolymerization. It chops long, viscous beta-glucan molecules into shorter, less viscous fragments. And when the molecular weight drops, so does the blood sugar benefit. A study published in Nutrients in 2018 compared conventional heating and microwave heating of oatmeals. They found that microwave heating for 3 minutes produced the highest starch content in the liquid fraction of the oatmeal, meaning more starch was available for rapid digestion. And here's what's critical. The relationship between beta-glucan and glucose in the liquid fraction shifted depending on the heating method. A systematic review published in the British Journal of Nutrition confirmed this pattern. The glycemic index of steel-cut oats is 53. Large flake oats, 56. Quick cooking oats, 71. Instant oatmeal, 75. The more the oat is processed, the more heat, pressure, and mechanical force applied, the higher the glycemic index climbs. And what does a microwave do? It applies rapid, intense, volumetric heat with superheated microsites. The exact type of processing that degrades beta-glucan molecular weight. Stop. Did you catch that? You're sitting down to what you think is a healthy breakfast. Steel-cut oats. The good kind. You measured it carefully. You're proud of yourself. And then you microwave it. And you've potentially turned a glycemic index of 53 into something closer to 70. Not because you changed the food, because you changed the physics of how it was heated. That overnight frustration. I'm doing everything right, but my numbers are still high. For some of you, this might be the reason. Now, I want to be fair here. Some research suggests that microwave heating of rice, specifically rice, can actually increase resistant starch content. Rice has a higher amylose to amylopectin ratio than potatoes, which means its resistant starch crystals are more heat stable. So the rules aren't universal. That's what makes this so confusing. And that's why I made this video. Because the internet treats all starches the same. They're not. But for oatmeal, the issue isn't just resistant starch. It's beta-glucan. And beta-glucan degradation from aggressive heating is well documented. The molecular weight drops, the viscosity drops, and with it, the glucose-lowering effect drops. Here's what kills me about this. You can have 2 bowls of the exact same oatmeal. Same brand, same amount, same water. One cooked on the stovetop over low heat for 25 minutes. One microwaved on high for 3 minutes. They look identical. They taste mostly the same. But one has intact, high molecular weight beta-glucan, creating a thick, viscous gel in your gut. The other has fragmented, low molecular weight beta-glucan that slides right through. Your meter doesn't lie. Your body knows the difference, even if your eyes can't see it. And look, I get it. Mornings are hard, especially when you're managing medications, checking your glucose, trying to eat right, dealing with joints that don't cooperate before 9 a.m. The microwave is easy. It's fast. I understand the appeal. But for these 3 foods, the extra 10 minutes on the stovetop isn't a luxury. It's medicine. And that right there, that overnight piece, the gap between what you eat during the day and what your meter reads the next morning, that's exactly why I created the midnight insulin trap. It covers what actually happens to your blood sugar after you fall asleep, why your liver dumps glucose at 3 a.m., and how to build a simple nighttime system that works with your body. The link is right below this video. I think you'll find it answers the questions your doctor doesn't have time to explain. The fix. Cook your oatmeal on the stovetop. Always. Use the lowest simmer you can manage. Steel-cut oats take 25 to 30 minutes on the stove. Yes, it's longer than the microwave. But the slow, gentle heating preserves the beta-glucan molecular weight. The viscosity stays high. The blood sugar protection stays intact. If mornings are too rushed, here's what I recommend. Prepare overnight oats. Mix your steel-cut oats with water or milk the night before. Refrigerate them. In the morning, they're ready to eat cold. Or warm them gently on the stove for 3 to 4 minutes over low heat. You get the oats. You get the beta-glucan. You get the resistant starch from the overnight cooling. And you skip the microwave entirely. One more thing. Avoid instant oatmeal completely, even without the microwave. The processing that makes it instant has already degraded the beta-glucan and gelatinized the starch. The glycemic index of instant oatmeal, 75, is basically the same as white bread. At that point, you're eating carbohydrates with marketing, not medicine. All right, let me make this simple. 5 changes, starting tomorrow morning. Step 1. Cook oatmeal on the stovetop. Steel cut or large flake only. Low heat, 25 to 30 minutes. Or use overnight oats. Mix with milk or water the night before and eat cold or gently warmed. Never microwave oatmeal. Step 2. Toast bread instead of microwaving it. If you cooled bread overnight for resistant starch, toast it in a toaster or toaster oven. The dry surface heat preserves resistant starch better than the microwave's volumetric heating. Step 3. Reheat potatoes on the stovetop or in a conventional oven at 300 degrees. If you must microwave, use 50% power. Heat slowly. The goal is warm, not hot. Every degree matters for resistant starch preservation. Step 4. Never eat cooled starches alone. Always pair with protein and healthy fat. Chicken, fish, olive oil, avocado, nuts. The combination slows gastric emptying and reduces the glucose response even further. Step 5. Never reheat the same food more than once. Cook once, cool once, reheat once. Each cycle degrades the resistant starch. And for heaven's sake, cool food quickly after cooking. Get it in the fridge within an hour, not 6 hours on the counter. Food safety matters as much as blood sugar. Now, if what you heard today changed something for you, If you've been microwaving your oatmeal every morning and wondering why your numbers weren't improving, I need you to do something for me. Type, "My kitchen is my pharmacy" in the comments below. Because your kitchen is your pharmacy, and the appliances in it, the pots, the pans, the oven, the stovetop, those are your tools. But the microwave, for these 3 foods, after 60, it's working against you. And nobody told you. Until now. And here's one more thing I want you to know. If this video changed how you think about food preparation, I made another video about the one vegetable, a common one, costs less than $2, that does something inside your body that works through 7 different mechanisms to lower blood sugar. Her doctor called the results impossible. And when you see the research on this, on what this vegetable does to your enzymes, your GLP-1 levels, even your kidneys, you're going to understand why pharmaceutical companies have zero interest in studying it. I'll leave that link on your screen right now. Thank you for staying with me. I read every single comment, every A1C number you share, every medication victory, every question you ask about timing and dosing and what to eat and when. I see you. Your endocrinologist gets 15 minutes with you 4 times a year. You get me for 40 minutes whenever you need it.